Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Infowars Nightly News. It is Thursday, March 21st, 2013. Here's a quick look at what's coming up.
Tonight on the Infowars Nightly News, just call it what it is. Monsanto's Protection Act proves that we are under the boot of a full-blown corporatocracy. Plus, Big Sis buys up billions of rounds of ammo, yet has no comment. Then,
completely crazy.
Infowars gets a surprising earful on the nature of conspiracy theories from the public at large.
There's a little bit too much going on. I don't think we got enough info. A lot of things that really just don't match up or add up.
All that and more on the Infowars Nightly News.
Well, it's being called the Monsanto Protection Act, and it would allow Monsanto Corporation to have complete immunity from the federal courts should anyone dare to try to stop them from planting GMO crops suspected of endangering the public or the environment. For example, let's say it were discovered that one of Monsanto's GMO bananas or apples promoted cancer. The federal courts wouldn't be able to do anything about it, and Monsanto could simply continue to plant the GMO frankenfood. And I know it sounds insane, but somehow the Monsanto lobbyists have managed to persuade legislators to include language in a bill, and this could pass as early as next week, by the way, that will put Monsanto Corporation above the federal government. Total immunity from the federal courts. How scary is that? Food Democracy Now! Has launched a petition to try to block the bill, explaining the Monsanto Protection Act would strip judges of their constitutional mandate to protect consumer rights and the environment while opening up the floodgates for the planting of untested, genetically engineered crops, thus making Monsanto Corporation literally more powerful than the federal courts in their never-ending conquest to monopolize the entire food chain. Now, we do know that, government agencies like the FDA go to great lengths to cover up the potential health damage from genetically modified foods and to keep customers in the dark about what they are really eating. Remember, genetically modified foods, engineered foods, they have been linked to all kinds of diseases like obesity. They're connected to cancer. They're also linked to liver failure, infertility, and all sorts of other diseases. And things are about to get a lot worse, perhaps as early as next week, unless we all stand up and say no. Washington Blog is also reporting on the Monsanto Protection Act. They explain it as a law that has been snuck into the Agriculture Appropriations Bill, which will be approved by March 27th. Doesn't give us much time. And it would destroy the separation of powers by stripping courts of the power to challenge genetically modified foods. The Monsanto rider, Section 735, uses farmer-friendly happy talk, but is an iron-fisted ploy to allow GMO crops to be planted, even if a court has ruled that planting them is illegal. And the Weston Price Foundation says if a GMO crop approval was shown to violate the law and require further analysis of its harmful impacts, as several courts have concluded in recent years, for example, with GMO alfalfa and GMO sugar beets, this provision would override any court-mandated caution and allow continued planting and commercialization. And there is a good summary of the bill posted right now on the Washington Blog website. Now, there has been an amendment that has been introduced to kill the Monsanto Protection Act, but it is up to you to get your senators to support it. Now, it is called Amendment 74 to the Agriculture Appropriations Bill, introduced by Senator Tester. Now, look, it is up to you. We've got about 1 week to stop this thing, and it's up to all of you. Help us out. Try to stop this thing. Join us in the fight to stop GMO. There's more details about all this. You can find it at Infowars.com. And look, we cannot allow Monsanto Corporation to be above the law. Not a good idea. Now, look, there is some good news. We have learned that genetically modified salmon has been rejected. It's been rejected by Whole Foods, Trader Joe's, Aldi, and other food retailers. This from our good friend Mike Adams at Natural News. And yet another blow to GMOs. Several major U.S. food retailers have signed on to the campaign for GE-free seafood. It is the latest private sector blow to the deceptive biotech industry. We all know that consumers overwhelmingly reject GMOs, even if the FDA conspires with biotech companies to try to shove genetically engineered food down our throats. But now, because of the constant grassroots pressure by our listeners, organizations like Natural News, we are finally able to convince food retailers to either label GMOs or reject them outright. And naturally, the mainstream media is trying to downplay all this. The truth will not be televised. And, they don't want you to know that there is a tremendous uprising going on right now by the people against GMOs. And, the establishment media, they have a long history of attacking anyone who advocates GMO labeling, for example. They routinely deny the presence of GMOs in our foods, and they spread junk science and propaganda that favors the biotech industry. But they are losing the battle over GMO, my friends, and they are losing their audience at the same time. And that's because the mainstream media is declining, and at the same time, folks like Infowars.com, Natural News, we are skyrocketing. And, for obvious reasons, the mainstream media cannot be trusted, left or right. And, so keep the pressure on, folks. Sooner or later, we will force retailers to reject GMOs entirely. And remember, every victory against Monsanto is a victory for the future of life on our planet. Now, I want to share with you a video right now. The founder of We Are Change, Luke Rudowski, well, he got a chance to run into Congressman Timothy Huelskamp speaking at CPAC, and very interesting. The congressman revealed that the Department of Homeland Security has refused to answer questions from multiple members of Congress regarding its recent purchase of staggering amounts of weapons and ammunition. The Department of Homeland Security, as we all know, has recently purchased about 2 billion rounds of ammunition. And you have to ask yourself, do you think are they preparing for a Red Dawn style invasion, or are they preparing for a war with the American people?
The Department of Homeland Security recently bought 1.6 billion bullets, 7,000 rifles, and riot gear. Why does Homeland Security need these weapons of war against the people?
They have no answer for that question. They refuse to answer that. I've got a list of questions to various agencies about multiple things. Far from being the most transparent administration in the world, they are the most closed-nature, opaque, and they refuse to let us know what's going on there. So I don't have an answer for that. Multiple members of Congress are asking those questions. But it comes down to it. During the budget process, during the appropriations process, are we willing to hold DHS's feet to the fire? We're going to find out. If we get an answer, right, I say we don't fund them until we get an answer.
Yeah, they're complaining about the sequester, but buying $50 million new uniforms, which is pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, there's plenty of waste going on, plenty of areas they can make those cuts, and obviously those type of things really challenge Americans. They're worried about this administration.
So there you have it. We are definitely having an effect on the globalists. All they can do is stonewall. They refuse to answer our questions because they can't debate us. And that is our strength, and that is their weakness. Now, recently, Marcos Morales and I, we recently had the opportunity to go to South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, and we thought it would be fun to go around and ask people what they think about conspiracy theories. So the mainstream media, they've been demonizing people who they call conspiracy theorists. And I was curious, what does that term mean to you? What does it mean to be a conspiracy theorist?
Well, I think especially what the mainstream media tries to imply is that a conspiracy theorist is someone who's completely crazy.
I think conspiracy theories, by definition, have some sort of non-believable element to them.
What sort of person do you think is the average person that believes in a conspiracy theory?
A really paranoid person.
Conspiracy theorists, over the top. People who are scared of everything.
I think in general, those theories have to stem from some amount of truth, but perspective is multifaceted, so.
When you look at a perspective issue or you're looking at conspiracy theorist issues, the fact that the media and the whole, as a whole, society as a whole these days is trying to make people understand that anything that's concrete evidence against a government entity is conspiracy immediately.
They created the idea that it's a conspiracy, first of all, is either non-existent or it's a theory, like it's only a theory, that kind of like the diminution of science, basically, by saying it's a theory. And then a theory is just like something you can disregard.
I think they're trying to make it look more ridiculous whenever it's really true. They're trying to make it seem like it's stupid whenever they're just really trying to cover it up.
I hate the term conspiracy theories, although it's actually it's an accurate moniker because people do conspire in order to do various things. Some of them good, some of them bad. The two of you and I could conspire to feed a homeless person. Sometimes people conspire to pull off false flag terror events. I mean, you know, it goes both ways.
I definitely think there's probably some truth to a lot of conspiracy theories.
Do you think the media uses that phrase, conspiracy theory, as a, you know, kind of a way to demonize people and make them look silly?
Absolutely, I think so. I think they don't want anybody to think differently than what they're telling people.
I mean, conspiracy theories are things that the government doesn't want us to know about. It's like,
it's hard to know which ones are true.
They don't tell us anything that's true, so like how are we supposed to know?
It's become a means of identifying someone that is a danger to the establishment, like Alex Jones is. Somebody that's a danger to the establishment, and identifying them, and then making sure that they don't have an effect, basically.
To me personally, a conspiracy theorist is a person who, like, you know, looks at everything and comes up with other plausible theories for reasonable things.
Unfortunately, the term has been, you know, co-opted and turned into a term of dismissal, a label that serves to dismiss what someone is saying without actually giving the facts that they may be presenting a fair chance.
When I hear the term conspiracy theory, hidden agendas, things hidden from the public, the manipulation of public interest and manipulation of public mindset, you know, through mass media.
So, and that's the key right there. Do you think that the media, that they use that term to kind of demonize people who think for themselves?
I think so. I think, yeah, you know, make the person with sense seem like they're crazy, so everyone else ignores them.
When you hear the word conspiracy theory, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
Truth.
I personally believe in conspiracy theories myself.
I absolutely believe in the chemtrails.
Okay.
You see that everywhere.
So tell me a conspiracy theory that you would tend to agree with.
I'm going to have to go with 9/11, for sure.
All right, you think that perhaps the government had something to do with that?
Indeed. I mean, there's a little bit too much going on. I don't think we got enough info. A lot of things that really just don't match up or add up, so I'm definitely going with that one.
You know, let's say somebody thinks the government was behind 9/11. Maybe it's because they hate the government, you know?
If you actually look at the basic physics, it looked like the buildings wouldn't fall the way they did.
It's hard to believe that the government's solely behind it. Maybe they might have had some cues that they didn't act on, whatever.
What about the capture of Osama bin Laden?
I don't know.
I mean, he's the Bigfoot of terrorists, right. You know, and they didn't take a picture of him and they dumped his body in the ocean. Isn't that a little suspicious?
You know, everything's suspicious nowadays. It's hard to believe damn near anything they tell us. You just kind of, like they say, believe half of what you hear, none of what you see.
They need to step outside of the box, get your mind outside of the matrix, you know, and keep your eyes open, man. There's a lot of stuff going on that y'all don't know about.
And you know, it's always refreshing to get out there and talk to people who aren't stuck in the matrix. You can see by that clip right there, there's a lot of young people out there who are open-minded, truthers, and are awake. certainly encouraging, and just love talking to all those people out there. Look, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, Billy Corgan is back. We got a chance to hang out with him recently, and this is another explosive interview with Alex Jones. Billy Corgan in studio when we come back right after this. Stick around.
If they're not already there, smart meters are coming to your home. Up next, find out what Michigan activists did to fight and opt out.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com. Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and come and take it on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller Come and Take It t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus the Don't Tread on Me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the Infowars magazine. Plus get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants. So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
Infowars magazine is more than just our answer to the internet kill switch. We're also going back to the roots of this country, when our founders, for a decade before 1776, known as the pamphleteers, with hundreds of little printing presses in every colony, got out the real news, the real information, and countered the system. This is tailored, designed with the truth to wake up your friends and family. This is the 21st century version of the pamphleteers. So get them at InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsStore.com. Sign up and buy them in bulk. Sign up and be a micro distributor for a full year to buy them in bulk and get one of the newsstands added, or sign up and get 12 issues delivered to your door, or give a gift subscription. Whatever you do, be part of the fight, and I want to salute and thank all of you that are subscribers and are getting the magazine in bulk, or who have ever come to InfoWarsStore.com and bought any of our products, because we are supported by patriots and liberty lovers like you. We couldn't do it without you. Well, a year ago, he visited us in this very same studio, and it's one of the most popular interviews we've ever done with viewers of InfoWars Nightly News and everybody on the radio show and out in YouTube world. With more than 30 million records sold, he is one of the biggest rock stars in history. He founded the Smashing Pumpkins, which I've been a big fan of for years, since high school, really, or I guess college. But the real reason I'm a fan is he is an amazing thinker and gets me to think. As dumb as I am, that's hard to do. Billy Corgan of Smashing Pumpkins here in town to play in Austin, Texas, to a sold-out crowd. Good to have you here, my friend.
Thank you, Alex. What we're seeing right now is a turf war, right? A turf war between old Republicans, you know, the Rush Limbaugh, what they call the old white men crowd, you know, as they're struggling for definition in a rapidly changing America. Then you have the coming immigrant classes, which way they're going to go. You know, social liberals who are willing to look the other way while we're doing, you know, these terrible things around the world with drones. I mean, suddenly now those things aren't big issues to social liberals, which is
black sites, torture.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable to me that these are not mainstream issues on the front pages every day when our government is openly acknowledging in many ways.
Warrantless wiretapping.
Just the fact that we're being spied on blows my mind.
They came out in Reuters and said, yeah, the Pentagon, everybody reads your bank account every day. I mean, totally illegal. Nixon was going to go to jail for it, and now it's just like big deal.
Right. So my point is so you see a turf war, right? So here's this dividing line. Okay, let's say free thinkers like you and I are over here, and we're in our little huddled mass, and then this crowd over here who wants to control everything, and let's call it the uninformed in the middle. Well, this turf war is going on. It's like a football game where nobody can really score a touchdown, right? They haven't stamped people like you and me out. And certainly we're not going to stamp them out anytime soon. So it's back and forth. But if something happens where there's this open moment, where suddenly 10, 20 million people are suddenly searching for new information because something gets exposed, you know what I mean? I think you have to be able to step into that void with a message that's greater than fear, or greater than the counter response to the fear. Because, look, and you and I have talked in private, besides publicly. And, you know, as I said when I said it in the same spot before, even if you're right, it's so hard for your average American to believe it's true. Do you know what I mean? So there's a sort of a transitional moment. It's like you know, in the Matrix, when they realize they're in the Matrix, there's a moment like, how is this even possible? Or when they talk about people get out of jail and they just want to go back to jail.
Well, it's like the reality's so bad, the guy goes, I want back in the Matrix.
That's my point. That's my point. I know people, and I'm sure many of your listeners have these conversations around dinner tables where, you know, you reel off a list of facts. Did you realize this? And they go, I just don't want to know. I mean, they're raising...
And it's because they have a legitimate point. The power structure seized. What do you do about it anyways? But then if you give in, that just greases the skid.
But my point is those people that sit around those dinner tables that admit to their son or their daughter or their uncle, hey, yeah, you got a point. I know things are weird and government... but I'm not going to do it. But there will come a point where it's going to touch them in a way where they're going to have to do something.
Well, I'll expand on that. I'm now hearing mainline talk radio. When Mohammed Karzai came out and said that the U.S. government runs Taliban al-Qaeda, which is well known, I heard all these hosts now going, you know, our government isn't even our government. It's interests that just want wars. Because they're like, they run them in Libya, they run them in Syria. Karzai says they run al-Qaeda, Taliban, and then I heard the local host and I heard others go, you know, they do grow the opium over there. They're shipping. Why do we have a war on drugs? It's like, I think, listen, I don't want to be over positive, but if people just get the word out, say, like, put your body against the machine, realize that these things are going on, I don't think it can move forward without our consent. And it's not even...
But see, that's exactly my point, right? As with any... Let's be cold. It's a game, right? This is a big game, and who gets to win and who gets to control how the pieces move about the board. Okay, there is going to come a point.
They may knock the whole board off.
Well, that may happen, but that would only happen if they're willing to admit that people like you are right, right?
That'll be a double down. That'll totally legitimize.
Like double down, right? Right. But the point is let's say there's something cataclysmic, worthy of knocking all the pieces off the board, worthy of shutting down the internet, worthy of silencing any dissident voices, even ones that would be considered mild dissident voices, like has happened in other historical moments of tyranny, right? And every time it was the same justification. We're doing this for the motherland or the fatherland, or the excuse will exist. It's what the populace does in that moment that will determine whether it's going to be 50 more years worse, or it's going to have to go through the incredibly difficult kvetching of reality. If we've been in an imperial system all along, which there is evidence to suggest that we've been in an imperial system all along, well, we're going to have to be accountable. Every person's going to have to be accountable on some emotional...
No, I agree, and there's going to be a price. But the price is too big to keep going. What you just said, if they do push it to that, I think all the fake liberals, all the fake conservatives, what's happening is they've denied. And when you deny so long, you get to where you'll deny anything just to say you were right. But then it becomes so... what was the word you used? Absurdist. Before we went on air, it becomes so absurdist that it becomes a joke. And I think that's what's happening in the... It was like Robert Gibbs 3 weeks ago on TV. You know, he came out and said...
He said that they told him there's no such thing as drones. And this is a guy who's supposed to go out there and put his entire credibility on the line. I mean, think of him as a human being.
And he said it's Wizard of Oz. This is an admitted program.
I'm saying, let's look at it from a slightly spiritual perspective. I mean, Robert Gibbs is a real human being, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sure he's got a family.
Smart guy.
Okay. He's obviously made his way up through the ranks. He probably worked, you know, crap jobs. So there he is. You're the PR guy for the president. I mean, if you're a PR guy, I mean, that's the job. You're the #1 guy in America. You got the best job.
When it comes to media.
And then they tell you, and they send out there and just basically lie. I mean, this guy's got to put his entire credibility, his entire career on the line and lie about something.
And then why would he come out now and say it? I'm seeing more and more of that.
Because it's like any other regime. He's thinking, I don't want to go down with this ship. You're seeing now, there was another insider, can't remember what it was about recently, where another guy he wrote a book.
But see, I think that Gibbs moment was like my Piers Morgan moment. More and more people are going, I'm not going to play along anymore.
But the question is, the question, if we're talking about it coldly like a game, right? The question is, does anybody care? If the tree falls in the forest.
So the spiritual issue is people better start caring again.
But that's my point to you is, you can win all day long on the facts. Okay, I once sat here and said, even if everything you say is wrong, I like the argument. Now let me reverse it. Even if everything you say is right, there is a segment of the people in this country particularly, and in this world, that we need to get on board. We're not going to get them on board with fear. We're not going to get them on board with facts. We have to touch some other part.
So exactly, what do I do?
I'm saying I think you have to diversify your message into a broader thing that's sort of unassailable.
Okay, let's use the Star Wars analogy. The Death Star is orbiting the moon. Star Wars, Episode 4. It's about to shoot the moon, and that's right when they blow it up. It's kind of that moment when both line up.
That's
the stars are aligning. It's going to be in that fulcrum point.
The dark side's going to win.
Yeah,
and set you back 1,000 years.
Yeah,
or you're gonna go and because just because you stop that Death Star doesn't mean you can stop the next one and the next one and the next one.
Yeah, so
in that case it's a lone victory against a still larger force.
Yeah, so we're entering this prime jump point zone, this crossroads. In closing, best interview I think I've ever done here. This is amazing. And I don't even just say, this is a powerful, you said we need to have a spiritual talk. And I think this has been a transcendent talk. I want you to look at that camera out there and just right out there in the last 5 minutes and just, you've got the floor. Other points you think are important because you've definitely taken me a long way into understanding. You said, Alex, you need to hit that next level. And you're like, I don't know exactly what it is, but we all need to hit that next level to beat this. That Martin Luther King, Gandhi, or what Jesus talked about, that moment. So what in your gut, your spirit right now, what do we do then? I'm talking to the people because you're right. If they don't want this freedom, if they don't want to be free, if they want to be slaves, then we're going down.
That's what I'm saying.
So what do we say to them?
I think you have to find, look, just because I wrote one good song doesn't mean people are going to listen to the next one or the next one or the next one. It's the collective message that I've been able to create that's allowed me to have a wonderful musical life. Because I've been able to create sort of a broader message that has an appeal to lots of different people for lots of different reasons. I think you've been at the tip of the spear for a long time. Personally, on some level, that's worn you down because you are literally shouting against a mountain every day. If you can draw from a deeper well of sources that go back thousands of years.
So I need to climb another mountain.
That's what I'm saying. You go read or bring in somebody who's an expert in people who have a deeper understanding that bring in the historical and spiritual perspectives, because we're not the first people that have faced this. Yes, we're the first people that have ever faced this in this way, with technology being at the core, the immediacy of communication, but you can't tell me 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago people weren't facing the same paradigm.
Well, they were facing the Roman army that was like, super high tech compared to them.
Tell me that it was any different. Tell me it was
the natives facing people with guns, yeah.
Right, I'm saying, how were those things overcome?
You said you're reading a book right now about the African slave trade. I've read those too. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's I can't think of the man's name was Barth. He traveled in Islamist Africa in the 1850s. He was a German guy, but somehow he got a British commission. And obviously the British were sending him down there to see how reasonable would be to go and plunder. Exactly.
Scoping.
But he was a scientist, and he rationalized going. But he witnessed, what was an awful slave trade, and he said that in his notes, he said that the African slave trade on other African tribes was shocking him. He thought it was simply sort of an imperialistic type of thing, and they realized that the slave trade was going on. Why were Africans enslaving other tribes? Because it was, your big tank against my big tank. It's just a different paradigm. My point is
it's like local cops. This system's destroying their kids' future, but they'll still be mercenaries and do it.
But look, I would take anybody at any system. I once went out with a woman who grew up in the Soviet system, emigrated in the 80s, lived there until she was 11 years old. She said her parents would tell her, don't talk too loud about the government because the neighbors will report us. I mean, imagine growing up in a society like that. Well, you know what? Now we actually have to think about it.
No, they have people report us all the time. We have FBI showing up all the time. And I mean, I can't hand magazines out. When I was on the trip in closing down in Galveston, taking a few days off with the kids down there at the beach, and Max Cabrera with the street team, you know, local crew we hired, I already talked about this, that's been doing this for years, never had it happen. He goes, yeah, they said we can't have bumper stickers on the car. And I go, you mean parked at a parking space? He goes, yeah. They said, well, they're going to arrest us for that. You'll give us a ticket, we don't leave. And we can't have a magazine. I said, I go, this is a joke, right? And he goes, no. Even I thought it was a joke. And then, because that'd be national news if it happened in, you know, Russia or something today. And then I said, next time the cops come up, call me. So he calls me. They're there with the code enforcer. And the guy goes, no, I'm a listener. I don't like doing this, but my boss told me I'm going to do this. You need to take the stickers off or we're going to give you tickets. And if you don't go, then they're arrested.
Let's look at it from a different perspective. The guy that's standing there, right? I'm a listener. I know this is stupid, but this guy up here told me I better do it. I meet TSA agents who are frisking me down, who are embarrassed to be frisking me down because they know my music and they know me and, you know, they know I'm
not a terrorist.
Right. And they're embarrassed. Why are good-hearted Americans willing to follow orders? Do you know what I mean? You know, why in other tyrannical regimes were those people willing to follow orders? I think you have to address those questions. And I don't think you can address them on the veracity of the fact, which is it's dumb. Okay, most people, if you sat them down at a table and explained the story, they'd say that's dumb. Okay, but this kind of dumb stuff's going on every day. Kids being expelled, you know, some kid said to another kid, 5 years old, something about shooting him. I mean, I grew up playing Cowboys and Indians. It doesn't mean
if a donut looks like a gun, they're kicked out. What about the bubble gun girl?
Right. What I'm saying is, I think you have to start getting into the mind of and I hear you say it, and I think it's a powerful message when you say, hey, you know, you out there who think, you know, you're going to get away with this and they're not going to come looking for you at some point, you know, don't be fooled. Right? But I think you have to get into the heart and mind of what their motivation is. You know, in wrestling, they
know that, but they're in the minute, they're scared.
What they say in wrestling, right? The bad guy has to believe in what he's doing. So even the bad guy believes in what he's doing. You know, he's been propagandized. I'm beating this kid down for America, or, you know, whatever they're thinking. You understand?
I'm dropping this drone on a whole wedding party to get one guy. Collateral damage.
I'm killing a terrorist. I would like you to see you broaden the message and bring in people who can speak to this kind of, whether it's a historian. I mean, maybe once a week it could be a special feature. A historian. Bring in people from the Catholic Church. Bring in Buddhists. Bring in Native American elders. Ask, how do you guys view this? Or girls? Maybe your message and maybe the message of other enlightened thinkers really only reaches people who have enough educational background or cognitive background to recognize that it's a good argument, right? A lot of people are raised on junk food and Gilligan's Island and probably don't have the, I'm not saying they're stupid, but they don't have the intellectual capacity because they've never been in that situation to have to think like that. A lot of lower classes, which I come from in my family background, they're predicated on survival. Right? What was some of the way the election was, this last election was waged? It's survival. Hey, if I vote for this guy, I got a better chance of surviving than if I vote for this.
And then he raises payroll taxes on poor people.
It's too late now, right? But I'm saying is, my point is you got to explain to somebody who doesn't necessarily think like you. I think you diversify the import of the message so that it resonates at a higher level, right? Most people believe in what America means, even though there's plenty of evidence to suggest we've killed and maimed plenty, right? There are people out there, veterans, who really struggle with why they went here. You know, I know one kid who struggles with why he went over to Iraq.
And the power structure knows that. They get them when they're 18, knowing later they're going to wake up, but by then they're now listed as the terrorist. What do you think about them saying veterans are the #1 terror threat?
It's interesting from this perspective. Look, you know, you watch the, you know, basketball game, and there's the commercial for the, you know, whatever, the Air Force, and it's like a video game, you know, drones, and, you know, it looks like, I literally think it's a video game commercial until I realize it's for the Air Force or something.
They're blurring it.
Right, but they're bringing these people in, believing a set of ideals, which is consistent with, you know, American greatness or something.
And freedom.
Right. Okay. So let's say you believe it, and nothing I say or you say would change their mind. America's the best, and I did this for a reason. I serve my country. Well, now we have a lot of evidence to suggest that they're not being supported when they come home, the Veterans Administrations, all this kind of stuff, right? And even like them not allowing them to show the coffins when they come back, all that kind of stuff, right? Why are they flipping that narrative? Because that's a pretty big flip from "you're a hero," you know, applaud the troops, to "you can't even hold a, now we don't trust you with a gun." Wow. Or I saw that clip where the city councilman objected because there was a guy who was a veteran, had a right to carry, and he got, did you see that clip? Yes. And he got up and left because he said, "I don't want to be in here." And the guy was not breaking the law. He's a veteran. You know what I mean?
They want to send him to foreign countries to kill people, but now when they have that right to defend themselves and have a Second Amendment here, they don't even want to be around it. It's like,
but again,
the technocrats want to send him to kill, but now they're scared of him.
I'm trying to I'm just using this as a point to illustrate what I'm talking about. What's the higher perspective on that? Why do we sell somebody so hard as a hero, and then what propaganda do we need to use to believe that they're dangerous?
It's like spiking a cannon after a war. They're decommissioning a weapon.
Right, but why do they need to do it that way? That's why I'm saying I watched that trend.
Yeah, why are they? Because it's waking people up. I think the establishment has been very smart and professional in the past, but I think they've been smoking their own dope. I mean, more and more, because I always heard the argument that, you know, the elite are crazy, and I'm like, oh no, you know, they've got it all together. Why do you think they're doing it?
That's a really good question. I think that's a very real question. I think the speed of information, even to the let's say you're in American intelligence, and you're actually sitting at the top of the data heap, and you can see where it's going, and you're talking to the guy who's predicting what it's going to be like in 20 or 30 years. I think even if you're that guy or that woman, you're sitting on top of that data heap, I think the speed at which this is moving is probably almost beyond human conception.
Jakari Jackson here, and I want to talk to you for a second about water. You know about ProPure, our flagship water purification system, but check out some of our portable water filter products at InfoWarsStore.com. The clearly filtered water pitcher. Also, for those of you on the go, we have the Athlete Edition filtered water bottle and the RAD Eliminator Pro filtered sports bottle that removes radiation. And keep in mind, we have replacement filters for all of these products. The ever-popular grab-and-go bag favorite, the Life Straw, the Crystal Quest shower filter system, and the Aquapod kit, great for mass storage of water. And while you're at the InfoWars shop, pick up a copy of our latest book, 31 Days to Survival. You can find all this and more at the InfoWarsStore.com, and don't forget it's your support that funds our operation. Sign up for our free newsletter at Infowars.com/newsletter.
Infowars magazine is more than just our answer to the internet kill switch. We're also going back to the roots of this country, when our founders, for a decade before 1776, known as the pamphleteers, with hundreds of little printing presses in every colony, got out the real news, the real information, and countered the system. This is tailored, designed with the truth to wake up your friends and family. This is the 21st century version of the pamphleteers. So get them at InfoWarsShop.com or InfoWarsStore.com. Sign up and buy them in bulk. Sign up and be a micro distributor for a full year to buy them in bulk and get one of the newsstands added, or sign up and get 12 issues delivered to your door, or give a gift subscription. Whatever you do, be part of the fight, and I want to salute and thank all of you that are subscribers and are getting the magazine in bulk, or who have ever come to InfoWarsStore.com and bought any of our products, because we are supported by patriots and liberty lovers like you. We couldn't do it without you.
We are back, and I'm joined by John and Pauline Holton. They're the founders of Warriors for American Revolution at W4AR.com, and they've actually made great strides in the fight against smart meters, forced smart meter installation there in Michigan. We're going to talk to them now. Thank you for joining us today, John and Pauline.
We're glad to be here.
Thank you. So tell us first what happened when smart meters started to come to where you are and how you fought that.
Well, we were hearing from people all over the country that these digital meters were coming in and a lot of the problems that were coming with the cost and the health and the privacy and safety. But, you know, I don't think we would have really known a whole lot if it wasn't from the California people. That's how actually we got started with Josh Hart and Deborah Tavares in this. We got a lot of stuff from them. But more people were getting them and complaining about the bills going up and the health effects and worried about the privacy issues. That's how basically we got started, getting more people involved.
And so it's true that there wasn't even an opt-out program where you're at until you guys started standing up against this, right?
There wasn't anything. We've been to over 35 cities and township in front of their boards to try to get moratoriums and resolutions. We got 7 or 9, and they finally did some investigating in U-17,000, and then we got the opt-out after 24 resolutions and moratorium at U-17,053.
But we don't have the opt-out yet. It's just before the MPFC trial judge. And so what we're doing is we had to go ahead and provide our testimony and all that. And the final decision is supposed to be this month, but that may be appealed too. There is no opt-out in Michigan yet.
Well, I've seen here there's so many court documents having to do with this, and the company, Detroit Edison Company, is actually trying to strike all of your testimony, and they're trying to strike your exhibits, everything that you presented in court.
What happened was the people who intervened in the court case, like I did and my wife, they are trying to talk about the health effects of smart meters because it's such an important issue to them. But the opt-out was strictly about the cost of the opt-out program. And this is where all their evidence and witnesses got thrown out. I was professional enough to address only what the judge and the court would allow me to address, and that was the cost issues of the opt-out program. And even then, they tried to go ahead and lie and say that I addressed the health issues and the technical aspects of smart meters, which wasn't true at all. So they tried to throw out my testimony, and I got it to go ahead be admitted to the court.
Well, we actually didn't know that we could intervene. We just found out just shortly before that. We could have actually intervened at U-17,000 and brought in the testimony of EMF and the more privacy issues and the cost. But we didn't intervene until U-17,053. That's when we started about the cost.
See, most people don't know because they're so far from them. They believe that the government is going to go ahead and protect them from the corporations, especially the monopolies like DTE. But they do all this stuff behind closed. Well, they put it out in the public, but the public doesn't know what it is. And if we would have known we could have intervened, become part of the case for U-17,000, then everybody could have brought on in the health effects, the costs, the privacy issues, and testified and brought expert witnesses and documentation. But this was a learning curve for us. And we got in on the opt-out program, and we've managed to get in a lot of testimony and evidence in the case. And we have a good chance of going ahead, I hope, to keep the analog meter at no cost to the customers.
Yeah, but we also have a bill, HB 4315, Tom McMillan of Rochester Hills has got out there. If we don't win with MPSC, we're going to have to go after the bill.
Gotcha. And what we're dealing with here is smart meters. They're going to come into people's property. They're going to force them to have these smart meters on their property, which in studies have been shown to cause lots of ill health effects, flu-like symptoms, migraines, insomnia, heart problems. The list goes on and on there. And basically just coming in and saying, you have no freedom anymore. We're going to come into your property. We're going to do what we want. Your bills can go up. We control your energy. I mean, that's basically what this is.
Yeah, see, the critical issue here is there is no law mandating that you take them. And we finally, after over a year, got DTE to admit that officially to the authorities in this case, that there is no law mandating that we take smart meters. It's a corporate mandate by the Energy Corporation of DTE that we take these smart meters.
Well, it's just like accepting a new contract with them. We didn't accept the new contract with the digital. We did with the analog, but we didn't with the digital. People have to understand the contract issues of the smart meters.
So then you guys started standing up against this, and that's when an opt-out program even came into the picture at all, because they were just making people believe there was some kind of law where they have to get a smart meter.
Sure, they were telling people that you had to have it. I mean, even harassing people that if they didn't have it, they'd have to pay $1,000 fine or whatever. People were chasing them off their property and everything, but they were actually harassing and threatening people.
Yeah, it started where that you call them on up and they say, you have to take it. You have no choice. I don't know who's telling you this, that you don't have to have it. And they'd argue with you. And then they send you to somebody else on the phone and to somebody else. And people would get lost and frustrated, and they didn't know what's going on. It wasn't until we went to the communities and asked the councils or the board of trustees, do you know about smart meters? And they go, what? What's a smart meter? And we give them documentation, and we give them DVDs we made up that address the issues. And we'd go back a second time that month, and then we come back the next month, and the next month, and finally they'd have enough information to make an intelligent, informed decision and say, we'll make a resolution or a moratorium.
And then, didn't you mention they also had to send out letters warning about you guys because you were so effective?
Yeah, we found out from one city that they were sending these letters out. We got one from our own city, Shelby Township, that was warning them against us, people like us who was talking about smart meters and things, not to pay attention to very emotional people about the smart meters.
Yeah, if you look at MPSC case U17053, the file number 245, which was the my direct testimony, resubmitted after he struck the things the judge would not allow. There's letters there that they sent out to 300 communities, warning them about misinformed advocates who are highly emotional, coming to their community from outside their community to go ahead, maybe disrupt their meetings.
I know. Why would you be emotional about someone forcing you to take a smart meter that's going to possibly make you sick and pay a lot of money and take away all your rights?
Yeah, but to see, the issue here is they're trying to deny our First Amendment right of freedom of speech at these council members. We go in there for our 3 minutes or 5 minutes. Detroit gave us 1 minute.
1 minute.
Yeah.
Wow.
1 minute. Mr. Cockrell? Or is it Cochran?
Gary Brown.
Cockroach?
Yeah. Yeah, he says, I paused. I says, excuse me, could we have some more time? He goes, you just wasted 20 seconds of your 1 minute.
Kwame Kenyatta.
Kwame Kenyatta?
Kwame Kenyatta.
Kwame Kenyatta. Okay, and so I tried to address the smart meters in 1 minute. And we went back there several more times, but they just weren't interested.
I got kicked out at one. They threatened. I got voted down. I couldn't even speak at one. They voted me down before I was even let to speak in the voting.
So this is not just a Fourth Amendment issue. This is also a First Amendment issue.
Well, yeah. See, this is the thing, is that no one is giving the consumer information before they get the new product. They're forcing the product on you, and then they're going to try to coerce you into joining their home area network, where they have all these smart chipped appliances in your home that are going to give out radio frequency communicating with their smart meter. So if you watch the video overexposed on a Smart Meter One page of our website, w4ar.com, you'll see how much radiation can be in your home from all these other appliances that we normally have and we don't know is there. So
Exactly. Well, and I've even read that they don't even know how much radiation you're going to be exposed to when you have a smart meter, because it's based on what kinds of appliances you have in your home, how much electricity you use at any given time, and what brands you use. I mean, it's all based on different things. So it could be a very high range, a very wide range of how much, radiation you're actually being exposed to.
Well, see, the thing is, like in the video I made, at our house, we have no modem with wireless. We have no deck phones. We have no remote thermostats. We have no Wi-Fi in our homes whatsoever. So when I turn on my high frequency analyzer, I get nothing. And then you go to Troy, where they have smart meters too on the outside the home. I turn it on, I get 1,200, 1,300 microwatts per meter squared. And I got this for 12 minutes before I shut it off.
12 minutes.
I don't know how long I could have stood there and recorded this radiation from the smart meter.
And they act like it's just seconds for like once a month or something, but it's not. It's constant.
Well, that's the thing. How much is too much?
Well, people don't talk about the collector either. What if you have the collector on your house and you're having 500 to 700 readings come to your house and all day, all night? And then the gas and water meter too. What about all that? The excess of the EMF coming in your home, in and out.
Exactly. Well, a lot of people think that these things are mandatory. They think there's a law there just because they're told by these corporations that there is, even though there is not. And they don't think there's anything they can do about it. But you guys have proven that everybody can do something about it. So what is your advice to people out there who think that this is mandatory, they think there's nothing they can do, and they're just stuck with this situation?
Well, I think they have to start locally at their city or township and demand that they do something, a resolution or moratorium, and inform the people. That's very important, to get the people involved and informing them. And get a hold of your representative, too, through your state, your senator and your representative.
Well, first thing they have to do is get out there, look at all the stuff on our smart meter page. There's a ton of stuff there, but you can go on the internet and Google this, okay, and take all the information that's out there and make an informed, educated decision for yourself. This is the problem. This is what got us the 22 resolutions and moratoriums with 2 counties. We also have 2 counties that did resolutions too. It's that we brought the documentation to these communities. And DTE was there, and I got the testimony, cross-examined Mr. Robert Sakakis from DTE. I asked him, when you gave the benefits of the AMI meter program to Shelby Township, did they pass a resolution? He goes, yes, they did. And I named off like 5 other cities. Even though they gave the benefits that DT offered with the AMI program, people chose to pass a resolution saying, I want this investigated. I want to know the truth about this. I want to protect my family and my constitutional rights. And they wanted it investigated. That's why those resolutions got passed in all those communities. That's why we got the U-17,000 and now the opt-out program, U-17053, because each person's voice made a difference. And you add them up. We started off with 2 of us, then 5, and we had like 60 at some different communities. And we passed resolutions of moratoriums while DTE was still in the room after their presentation.
Wow. All right. Well, I urge everybody to go to W4AR.com and get that information and do what you guys did. I think what you guys are doing is great, and you need to keep it up. Because if they continue to do this and they win a precedent here where they can come do this to us, what else? I mean, where's it going to ever end?
Well, that's a problem. It's corporate slavery is what they're going to indoctrinate us to. They're going to steal our Fourth Amendment rights and our First Amendment rights. And next thing you know, we'll have to beg the corporation for our gas, water, and electricity. And if we don't have money in the bank and they'll know it, they'll just shut us on off and let us starve and freeze to death.
Exactly. Well, thank you so much for your time today, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome.
And what they said is absolutely true. If we don't fight against these smart meter installations, it is an attack on our Fourth Amendment, but it is also an attack on our First Amendment, and it will just continue to get worse. And if it doesn't stop here, what will they find out a way to do to us next? It's just going to keep getting worse and worse. And if you like the information we're bringing to you and you're watching this on YouTube, please go to PrisonPlanet.tv and subscribe. It is only $5.95 a month. It supports our operation. You get everything we got. You get Alex's radio show, the nightly news, our special reports, everything. And it helps us to continue to get information like this out, because as they said in the interview, people don't know about things like this, and they really need to. It's a detriment to us all and to all of our freedom. And that's it for tonight's show. We will see you again tomorrow at 7 p.m. Central.